While the Cold War with the Soviet Union was a nuclear arms race, the Cold War with China is being fought in digital space. In late August, Washington restricted sales of sophisticated chips to China and Russia. The two top Silicon Valley chip designers, NVIDIA and Advanced Micro Devices, have been told to limit sales of their high-end chips known as graphics processing units, or GPUs. GPUs were originally developed to render images in video games, but are now used in supercomputers that recognize speech and identify objects in photographs. In other words, they can be used for artificial intelligence gathering. The People's Daily, the mouthpiece of China's Communist Party, claimed on its Twitter account that the country's facial recognition system could scan the faces of China's 1.4 billion citizens in just 1 second. And by the way, this tweet was in 2018. NVIDIA, the largest GPU maker by far, confirmed that the US federal government now requires the company to seek export licenses to sell two types of high-end chips, the A100 and the upcoming H100, and any future chips equivalent in performance. These processors help accelerate the most intensive parts of machine learning used in AI. In an SEC filing, NVIDIA revealed that the US government fears there is a risk that the products may be used in or diverted to a military end use in China and Russia. Both companies do not currently sell to Russia. NVIDIA's statement indicates it does not expect licenses to be granted in most cases and could take a $400 million hit this quarter. Beijing is clearly not happy about the restrictions. A Chinese foreign ministry official said the US is trying to impose a technological blockade on China, and that the restrictions show America is trying to maintain its technological hegemony. Reuters quoted the US Department of Commerce as saying the restrictions are meant to keep advanced technologies out of the wrong hands. These restrictions come shortly after the Biden administration offered billions in subsidies to a Taiwanese company if it agrees not to sell its most advanced semiconductor chips to China. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company makes the most advanced chips for nearly every company on Earth, including NVIDIA and AMD. Although TSMC has factories in China and one in the US, its most advanced factories are in Taiwan for security reasons. I did a video about the importance of TSMC, which I'll link in my description. TSMC is now building a $12 billion factory in Arizona. So it's no surprise that Arizona's Governor Doug Ducey is the latest American politician to cozy up to Taiwan. He flew there to meet with Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen. Not to mention, in 2019, the Trump administration lobbied the Dutch government to block the shipment of cutting-edge machines that are an essential component in printing chips for TSMC and other chip makers. The Dutch firm ASML is the only company in the world making the $150 million machines that pattern the finest lines on the most advanced chips. The Biden administration has been pushing ASML to stop shipping even its less sophisticated systems to China, which would seriously hurt Chinese firms that are producing their own semiconductor chips. These new US restrictions involving NVIDIA and AMD are another attempt to hamper China's technological capabilities. Without integrated units from these two companies, Chinese firms will find it more difficult to implement advanced computing for speech and image recognition. These processes are commonly found in smartphones, for example, for identifying people in photos on your iPhone. They also have military uses, such as scouring satellite imagery for weapons or military bases, or listening to communications and monitoring faces for intelligence gathering purposes. Washington has argued that products sold in the Chinese marketplace are ending up in the hands of the Chinese military. For example, NVIDIA and Intel sold chips to Sugon, a Chinese firm that makes computers for various companies, but also supplies them to the Chinese military. A report in 2020 by the New York Times raised concerns that these chips are powering a supercomputing center that conducts mass surveillance in China's northwest Xinjiang province to track Uyghurs and other Muslim minorities. Both Intel and NVIDIA told the Times they were unaware of what they called the misuse of their technology. In 2016, a Chinese police surveillance project called Sharp Eyes had the ambitious plan of being able to monitor 100% of all public spaces in China by 2020. even the vast rural areas. There is no word on how far they've come in achieving this goal. Although the blockade is meant to prevent American technology from being used by America's military rival, AI chips have wide applications. Companies like Alibaba, Baidu, and Tencent use them in their data centers to process large volumes of data. Now, they'll have to make do with lower performance GPUs that could slow them down. So there are broader implications for society. Or perhaps it is inevitable that China will begin producing its own high-end GPUs and become self-reliant. It may only be a matter of time.